Hey, everybody. Welcome to our next episode of Mental Hellness. I am super excited to see you, and I hope that you are feeling pumped about this next episode, which I know you will be once you find out that my winning guest is Al Val, who is an amazing comedian, actor, writer, and musician who has traveled all across North America headlining shows. So he is quite a force to be reckoned with. And also, Al has recently appeared on CBC Gem's New Waves of Comedy, which is an amazing episode. You need to check it out. I laughed very hard, out loud. Al is unique, imaginative, and very, very funny. And I'm so glad that he decided to talk with me today. So let's let him in. Da, da, da. Al, where are you?
Oh no, my camera for it's okay. Okay, wait, yeah. One second,
We
one
can,
second.
well, we know your name, so that's good. And I'll have a sip of my coffee while you're doing that.
I forgot to plug in my webcam. All right, I think we're.
This is
I think.
all this is all part of the hellness, man. This is good. Hey,
Hey, what's up?
hey, how's it
Sorry about
going?
that.
That's
I'm good.
okay.
How are you?
I'm really good. I'm so glad you decided to speak with me today. This is a real kick because I started doing this little show to kind of talk about the funny and awkward about people's mental state,
Hmm. Yeah.
which I think we don't really get the opportunity to do very much. I think there's lots of opportunities now to talk about a little more seriously and in depth, and I think those conversations are really, really important. But I also think there's time for brevity too. So I ask you, Al Val, what's your mental hellness?
Oh boy. I live in a mental hellscape.
Awesome.
So
Woo.
where do I even begin? Yeah, I mean, you're encouraging honesty, right? I can be
To-
completely
totally.
okay.
To-
Um, I'll start here. So my the filter through which I process all of my emotions, the filter through which I process every incoming stimulus is guilt and shame. I
okay.
experience a ton of guilt and shame, and it's with everything positive, it's with everything negative. Like if somebody gives me a gift, now I feel a certain kind of pressure to even out the ledger, to give back in some way, to
Right.
always. So I can't even enjoy a gift given to me without some kind of a neurosis attached to it.
Right.
So that's the first place I could start with, and then on top of that, I just I'm sure a lot of comedians do. I just experience a pretty constant self-loathing, and that's just kind of how I navigate through life.
Do you find that it fuels your flame a little bit, that you can actually take that self-loathing and turn it into something good? I'm sure you turn it into stuff that's funny, right?
Yeah,
So then isn't that kind of healthy?
I think so. I mean, it's healthy up to a point. It helps
Yeah.
you sort of process uh, on a surface level these things that you feel about yourself and explore
Mhm.
them in front of a group of people, but it's no way to eradicate those negative defense mechanisms, those self-destructive defense mechanisms, because in the end, just by talking about it to a group of strangers, you're not really confronting it. You're kind of dancing around it in a way. It's just
Right.
another way of processing it in a way that's palpable and validating, I guess.
True. And I totally see what you're saying. I also think, though, that comedians or anybody who performs and is willing to, actually, anybody who's willing to share of themselves in a similar way that you do, is actually, and maybe this is going to sound a little bit arrogant, and I don't mean it to, but it provides a service to people.
Yeah.
I really think not just comedy, but storytelling, but just sharing of ourselves in any way that feels okay, really does provide some kind of service for people, because I think not being alone is where we want to be. I think most of us just don't want to feel alone.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say so. I
Yeah.
mean, and this is for example, like, I'm a queer comic. I'm gender fluid, and I came out 2 years ago, and since then, I've been truly shocked at how many people have privately messaged me after a show to be like, I felt seen and heard because I'm struggling in the closet. I'm quietly dealing with this kind of stuff too, and it's really profound to me that, I'm doing it for selfish reasons. I got to be completely honest. So for somebody to say that they've connected with this pain that I'm just kind of putting out on display
Mhm.
is really special, and I'm happy that it's a side effect of this uh this need for validation that drives my stand up, the reason why I do it.
It's that's like me, like me, like me, that kind of thing, right? To sort of
Yeah.
feel like it kind of drives you to keep going. Do you feel any pressure when people do sort of message you and say, like, you've profoundly, touched my life by what you're saying? Does that add any pressure to you as you keep going, or do you just kind of weave that in to your to the way that your process? I don't know. I was just wondering if that kind of puts any kind of weight on your shoulders, like, holy shit, now I have this responsibility, or does it just kind of fuel you?
For now, I take it for what it is, and I'm just really grateful, and
Right.
I'm honored. Um, it's an honor,
Hmm.
but I do worry that maybe someday in the future, depending on how big my fan base grows, I don't want to be held up as some sort of a champion or some kind of
Mm,
a mouthpiece. I don't want to be a representative of any community. I just want to speak for myself,
right.
and that is what I worry, that I may be uh, thrown into a position where I'm speaking on behalf of a group of people that I frankly never really want to speak. I would never claim to speak on anyone else's behalf.
Right. And
So
it's and your fan base is going to grow. It is growing.
yeah,
Your episode on New Waves of Comedy, awesome. I was just
thank
telling
you.
people in the intro that they've got to check it out. So there's no question that your fan base is going to grow. And I think that it's interesting because anytime somebody garners any kind of accomplishment in the public eye, there is this need we have as the public to slap role model onto that person, right? Whether you want it or not, like you're saying, oh, geez, is this really what I signed up for? But it is kind of, it's unavoidable to a certain extent because you are going to be touching people, moving people, galvanizing people without even necessarily that being your first intent. So I think you have to get used to it.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're
I
right.
think you're just going to have to get over
Uh,
yourself
I
and be
know.
a fucking role model.
Oh God, I hate that because it requires a certain growing up.
Oh,
And
yeah, what's
like in
that?
my set, I literally do an impression of a dick. So don't take anything I say seriously,
First of all,
please.
what does that say about the mental state of people who then see you as a role model after you do that
I
impression?
know. Get a better role
So
model.
maybe there's a lot of real sickness in your shows,
Yeah, yeah, for real. I'm attracting some really damaged people.
right?
God.
So I mean, I think this is kind of like the Alval support group, whether you want it or whether you want
Yeah,
it or not. Maybe that could be maybe you could get that on T-shirts. I don't know. You could merch that. I think,
that's cool. I could
right?
speak on that group's behalf. Fuck yeah,
Right?
that would be
Totally,
fun. Am I
totally.
allowed swearing, by the way?
Oh
Sorry.
yeah,
Okay,
I'm swearing, so I think it's
okay,
okay.
good.
I think it's okay. So how have you been? And I mean, this is a question I've been asking. I've done an episode now, probably, I think you're number 5, and we can't really do a chat show during this crazy time in our world without asking the question, how has your last 4 months been with the crazy of the world?
um, I go through waves. I mean, leading up to the release of this taping,
Mhm.
it would be kind of 4 days of bedridden depression,
Mhm.
2 days of maybe a week of like numbness, just pure uh, lack of emotion or attachment or engagement with anything, and
Mhm.
then like 3 or 4 days of contentedness. So it's been a nice steady wave pattern, which at least is consistent in its inconsistency.
Yeah, and I can relate to that totally. I think when you are dealing with whether it's anxiety, depression, or any other various diagnosis, or even not, I mean, you don't have to have a diagnosis to deal with mental health issues. I mean, for sure. I mean, just ask anybody who's dealing with COVID right now. But I do think there is strength or safety in the fact that you know what's coming sometimes, and you're able to, even if you don't feel like you're preparing yourself, you are preparing yourself. Like you're just saying, like, I know there's going to be a few days where I can't get out of bed. There's going to be a few days where I'm okay. Then there's going to be a couple days where like maybe I'm super productive, and all of that is okay. So you're not sort of judging it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've acutely become aware
Yeah.
of leading up to the taping, to bring it back to me and my
Well, it's
tape.
all about you, my friend.
The week of the 2 weeks leading up to the actual taping itself,
Mhm.
I went through this pattern of self-sabotage and depression and imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
certainly.
Mhm.
Just self-destructive habits leading up to like a milestone in my life, something that I'd earned 13 years doing comedy, and finally I get my shot, but I still felt like I didn't deserve it, and I was really punishing myself for zero reason for 2 weeks leading up. And then the taping happened, and I was on cloud nine. I was on a high for the following week. And the same thing, I've become acutely aware now that the same thing happened to its release, where 2 weeks up until the actual release date,
Mhm.
I was doing I was drinking a lot. I was doing a lot of really self-destructive. I was really indulging a lot of self-destructive thought patterns,
Mhm.
and I fell into a depression. I and now that it's out, I'm on the other side of it, and I feel fantastic. So those two very specific instances of a milestone in my life,
Mhm.
now I'm acutely aware of how I process those things, and I'll be ready for it next time. Next time something good is about to happen in my life, I'll be aware that for those 2 weeks, I got to fight off this pattern because I know what it is now.
And I hope that you can, because I'm listening to you and I can relate on so many levels. It's almost like we're not allowed to enjoy the good stuff. When good stuff happens, for whatever reason, if you've struggled with depression, especially because the depression lies to you all the time.
Mhm.
So there's that feeling that even though something really good is happening, and like you mentioned, you worked really hard. It's not like all of a sudden this fell into your lap. You worked really hard for this, but it's like this voice saying you're not allowed to enjoy this. So go ahead and do it, but you're not going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure that you don't enjoy it. So when you were leading up to the actual taping, and then while you were taping, how did you feel when you were on that stage? Like, were you aware, or were you fighting that voice, or were you in the zone? Like, how did that work for you?
I was in the zone. It
Yeah.
was it was transcendent to me. Yeah, it was magical. I felt so I was prepared. I was ready, and I was ready to play. I was in that I reached a nice I was in that pocket of play.
Right.
And that's exactly what I was hoping would happen.
Which is awesome, and you can tell too from the performance. And I just always think it's such a shame then when we finish doing something that you really nailed it and that was great, is again coming back to that, you know um geez, like, why couldn't I give myself that leading up to it, and why does this have to happen every single time,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
we can be aware, but I think when you do struggle with that stupid demon depression, it's it's always going to, it's not self-sabotage, it's the depression sabotaging you. It
Yeah.
just won't let you have this.
Hmm.
It won't let you have it. So now that you've had it, so then did you watch it?
I've watched it 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. And how do you
Yeah.
feel? How do you feel watching it?
I needed to watch it alone the first time
Right.
because I knew that I would hate it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I knew, like, if I were to watch it with friends, I would ruin the experience for them just by being like, oh, in the corner, just like, oh,
Rocking, rocking,
yeah,
rocking.
yeah. I get, but you know, now that I've watched it 3 or 4 times, now that I've silenced that voice, now that I've
Mhm.
engaged with it and confronted it and talked myself off that ledge,
Yeah.
I can genuinely, I can just enjoy it for what it is, because I'm really proud. I'm really proud of it. And I was ready for the 13 years leading up to this. This was my first shot, and they lobbed me the ball and I hit a home run with it. So I can just, I'm really proud of it.
And you should ride that wave for as long as you can, right? You should feel that the voice of pride, whatever that voice sounds like in your head right now, should really trump that stupid depression voice.
Hmm.
And I mean, that's a message I think for everybody, is that when we are successful at something, is being able to bask in the joy. I think it's just simple joy. When you're struggling, that's the emotion that's really hard to tap into. It's almost like we just can't allow it. We just can't
Yeah.
let it in. You can't let it in.
Hmm.
So when you have achieved something, which sounds like it's been, a lifelong goal to get going and get to this level and then take the next step, is to allow yourself that joy.
Yeah. Yeah. To finally breathe a sigh of
Yeah.
relief. Like,
Yeah.
it was not a lot of people get this opportunity, and I need to keep reminding myself that I can't let
Does
it
it
fall out of my consciousness.
has it rejuvenated you, or has it given you a shot in the arm now with, say, your writing, or like any other areas of creativity? Like, has it kicked you in the butt that way?
No, because
Okay.
I'm in pure celebration mode. It's been 4 days of uh, uh, celebrating, drinking and partying with friends, and that's why I gotta cool it with the celebrating. It's a bit too indulgent.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think it has, in one sense, it has given me that shot in the arm, that motivation, because I know that as people watch this, I am gonna have a lot of people, uh, new fans, people developing an interest in
Yeah.
what I do. So I got to get on podcasting at the very least.
Yes.
That's the easiest thing I can do during these COVID times, and there's
That
no reason why I shouldn't. So that's the
if
first thing on the project.
Listen, if I can do something like this and I don't know what I'm doing, I just like, oh, Zoom. Okay. We're going to
Yeah.
Zoom now and this is what we're going to do. And let's face it, anybody and their fucking brother can have a show, or can have it's a great
Yeah.
COVID has been a great equalizer. I
Uh-huh.
think, if you've ever had something to say, now is your time to say it. Um,
Absolutely.
and jump, because people are, I think if we're not already there, we're starting to acquire an appetite for getting, our entertainment or our information this way, virtually.
Hmm.
Have you done many shows virtually? Like, have you done any?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Initially, yeah, they've all kind of fallen off. I think people are getting tired of doing them.
Right. Right. Which, it's funny when you think about it, because you think, well, you want to be doing something, but do you find it harder, like, without the live audience?
It's definitely an adjustment.
Yeah.
Harder for sure. But um but you have to make the most of your circumstances. And
Yeah.
a lot of comedians will complain about Zoom, but it's the only thing we've got right now. Or
Right.
I mean, it was at the time. So I just embrace the experience. And that's one thing that I do appreciate about myself after all the years of touring, doing the most ridiculous gigs in the most ridiculous places, getting my teeth kicked in countless times. It's Zoom shows are nothing to complain about, and like, and you can have fun with them. I enjoy them as long as the audience's audio is turned on. You can still get that validation.
It's true. And to your point, it's physically safer.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody's throwing a beer bottle at your head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nobody's coming on stage to threaten my space with a
Right?
knife. Yeah,
Right. Right. So, I mean, there's that. There's that.
there's that. Yeah.
And I say, like these are all blessings, right? So,
Mhm.
no, I think that's the right attitude, and it's interesting, and just the people that I've spoken to, and I don't know about you, but I have found with this technology that I'm talking to people that I never spoke to before. It's like
Yeah,
suddenly I'm having these relationships with people. I'm FaceTiming people or I'm Zooming with people that, you know, there was this almost COVID brought about this panic for connection for me. And I thought, if I don't do this, suddenly I'm going to be just sort of cast adrift and, and not have any kind of connection or relationship connection. So I don't know. Do you find that? Are you talking to people that you haven't spoken to in
that's
ages?
that's interesting because I feel like I've responded in sort of the opposite way
Oh,
where
yeah.
I've I've really sheltered myself and
Hmm.
I don't talk to a lot of people,
Yeah.
and it's kind of allowed me to whittle down
Yeah.
and reprioritize the relationships that I do have,
Yeah.
and spend less time on people who I don't connect with on that intimate level. Like the people
Yeah.
that I've stayed in touch with over the course of this COVID experience are the ones that I really do truly care about enough to put in the effort
Yeah.
to talk with them on the phone. And I'm not a phone person. I hate it. I get so uncomfortable. I don't know why. I hate talking on the phone.
There's a
So
lot of just dead air. And so, um,
yeah. Ugh.
oh,
Ugh. It's so uncomfortable. Ugh. Ugh.
phone calls the actual phone calls send my anxiety through the stratosphere. I don't know why. When I look at the number and it's like, I can't hit decline fast enough usually.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Totally.
and that is true for my anxiety, because I always feel cornered. Like if you pick it up, then you are cornered and you have to somehow, make sense, and you have to be witty and you have to act like you care about what the other person is saying. And that part of it is still probably fairly true for me. But in terms of, you know being face to face with people, I think I've found that I like that more than I ever thought I would.
Totally.
So I'm creating maybe relationships that weren't necessarily there beforehand. So that's a little bit different for me.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it has given me a newfound appreciation for that intimate face-to-face
Yeah.
contact. Like like I said, I've been really reclusive for most of this experience, but every time that I've met with a friend just to like sit around and shoot the shit,
Yeah.
it has been so rejuvenating.
Hmm.
So I do palpably, acutely, I recognize that when I come away from that experience, just feeling so much better.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's so it's such a, and I'm probably not using ironic the right way, because I don't know many people that use the word ironic correctly. But so I'm being ironic. No, I find that the very thing that you don't want to do, which is talk to people necessarily when you're feeling down or you're feeling, reclusive, as you say, the very thing that you don't want to do is the very thing that you need to do, and you
Yes.
feel amazing when you're done. That doesn't mean that those same feelings of being reticent and not wanting to do it again aren't there, because they usually are. But it's like, if you can make yourself do it, and I need to be pulled out of myself, and I can't do that myself. So that's what these kinds of conversations, that's really the reason why I'm doing a chat show like this, is because I want you to make me feel better.
You
That's really,
selfish.
that's what it's all about, really, is like,
Yeah.
these conversations make me feel better. But I think that's the when you're dealing with whatever mental illness, is that whatever we can do to get out of our own heads is what's going to eventually save us, which is
Hmm.
be, a good thing.
Yeah. And taking care of your mental well-being is exactly that. It's an effort. And I
Yes.
totally relate to how difficult it is to take that first step in leaving the house to go
Yep.
to a social gathering. Like
Yep.
I really, that's the hardest part for me, is leaving the house,
Yes.
because it's nice and safe here,
Hmm.
and I do get that anxiety, but inevitably I always feel better after the experience. So
It,
it's,
it's true. I think it's true. It's if you can get your ass out the door, that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Right. And then because at home it's safe, there's no judgment, but there's also nothing else.
Yeah,
Like if you,
totally.
what is it? It's a really sappy motivational meme or something probably. And if it isn't, it should be that if you don't let you can stop the bad stuff from coming in, but if you stop all the bad stuff, you stop everything. You can't let the good stuff in either. I don't know. There's probably a more eloquent way to say it because I've heard it somewhere, but let good stuff in.
Yeah.
Right?
Let the good stuff in. There you go.
Right?
That's a
See?
more polished, that's poster
Do
worthy.
you
I
think
love
it's
it.
a more succinct, I think, than what I was
Yeah.
trying to say? Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So listen, I want, before we wrap up here, because I could keep on talking because again, it's all about me. What would be a pearl of wisdom or an Al-ism that you would want our viewers to know when whatever they're dealing with, whether it's their anxiety, depression, any kind of mental illness, what would you say?
Mm. Wow. I'm probably no authority on taking care of yourself.
Mhm.
So I will say I'm pretty good at taking care of others and making other people feel welcomed and listened to and supported and safe.
Mhm.
Um, and I think the key to that, if I could endow you with one nugget of Al wisdom,
Yes,
it's
please.
um, it's that conversations like these are a constant reminder that everybody's going through something.
Mhm.
Everybody's got their demons. Everybody's fighting a battle every single day.
Mhm.
And when you recognize that about every human being that you interact with, even if somebody cuts you off while you're driving,
Mhm.
like it's easy to let that roll off your shoulders when you realize that, like, you know, we all make mistakes. We're all human. We're all struggling with something, and and you need to be able to forgive your fellow person, because life is tough, and we're all doing our best.
And we can all be assholes,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
We're all capable of it.
We're all capable of it. Absolutely. Well, I like that. And just when you're saying about um, making people feel listened to and welcomed, that is a superpower, in my opinion, because I think we often believe we're better listeners than we really are. And so if you do have the ability to listen and listen well, it's such a gift to give to people. And I think that you get back from that too, because when people start to feel safe in your presence, you know, there's a real connection made. It doesn't always, like, all joking aside, it doesn't always have to be about us.
Hmm.
And when you're able to give the gift of that kind of lending your ear to somebody, can also boost your own self-esteem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It feels good to help other people. I mean, as simplistic as that sounds, it really does. It really is a tonic.
Yeah. It's and it's an opportunity for growth too.
Mm-hmm.
It expands your perspective always.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It expands our perspective. So, all right. So when we're finished this conversation, I'm going to work on your merchandising because you're going to
Okay.
be,
Yes, please.
I'll
I
come up, I'll come up with some catchier catchphrases than the one I just came up with.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of my set, I joke. I can't. I've watched it 4 or 5 times, like I said, and at the very end of my set, I go, I was so overwhelmed with the experience that in the end, the last thing I say, I grab the mic and I go, "Be good to each other, huh?"
Yes,
And then walk off stage, and I can't stop laughing about that because
it
it
is
was
pretty
so
funny.
cheesy. Yeah, it was so cheesy, but it's so and cringy, but it was cute, you know. I felt so overwhelmed with positivity that I just wanted to spout something nice,
I
and
mean,
that's
it's
what
a
came out.
whole lot better than saying go fuck yourselves,
Yeah, totally.
right? You had
Yeah,
a choice. You had a choice there.
you're right. Yeah.
You made the right choice.
Thank you. Let's get "be good to each other" printed on a shirt.
Yes, huh? But it has to be
Yeah,
HUAVS, huh?
yeah. Be good to each other, huh?
Huh? That has to be on there for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Al. Thank you for joining me and chatting with me.
Thank you for having me. This was
And
really
and
fun.
we should, chat other times and not record it. That could happen
Absolutely.
too. Awesome,
Yeah,
because I want to feel that I'm being listened to, and I think that you would be a good candidate for that.
absolutely. I think there's great value in what you have to say, Lori. I think you're a fantastic person.
Thank you so much. Thank you a lot. And listen, take care, and you take care of you, huh? And be well.
Thanks, Lori. I
Okay,
will.
okay,
Bye.
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 See, that was another amazing conversation. I am so lucky to be able to do this and that people are willing to chat with me about all things mental illness, but also just life and their own outlooks and I don't know. I just feel very, very lucky, and I hope you enjoyed that episode with Al. And make sure you do check out on CBC Gem New Waves of Comedy. Al's set is on there, and it's really funny, and he's really quite something special. So I hope that you will do that, and please join me for next time, and we will have more great guests, and I look forward to chatting, and be well.